Hi there, I'm Vincent Bos, and I'm a life coach, relationship coach, and breakup coach. You can change the language of this podcast in the YouTube video settings. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing dumper memories after months of no contact. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. Subscribe to my weekly support emails. The link is in the description. So now let's get back into today's podcast. And today we are discussing dumper memories after months of no contact. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, you will worry about their memories of you. Are they good? Are they bad? Are there any? In today's podcast, I'm discussing your ex's memories after months of no contact at 3 different time lengths. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is 3 months. Now let me know in the comments if you believe that your ex thinks of you. Let me know in the comments and let's see what the community thinks. And point number 1 is 3 months. So after 3 months of no contact, what are the likely memories that your ex the dumper has? Well, the first thing to say is that the memories of you will still be strong. They will still be clear. It may feel like an eternity to you since your breakup, but in reality, 3 months is a very short period of time, and your ex will remember things very clearly. And unfortunately, that also means that they might not be viewing you in a particularly positive light. Now, of course, this depends on your specifics. This depends on the reason that your ex-dumper lost romantic emotional attraction. For instance, if you are in a position where your ex-dumper offered you platonic friendship, then clearly they still view you in high regard. The level of attraction dropped, but they still view you as someone they would like to spend time with. Now, without meaning to digress on this part of the subject, it's important for me to say that as a dumpee, I do not suggest that you accept platonic friendship from your dumper. It can be very easy to fall into this trap by thinking, well, yes, this will keep me within their life. This will keep me within their orbit. And hopefully, I can re-attract them from there. Now, although nothing is impossible, I would say your chances of success with this strategy are low. The reality is that if you accept platonic friendship with your dumper, they will be viewing you as a platonic friend. And the likelihood is you will not escape the friend zone. So what this would transpire is that eventually your ex-dumper will meet someone new, and because they view you as a friend, they will tell you about it. Hey, I've met someone new. In fact, do you want to meet them? And you could almost even vet them for me if you want. Now, of course, as a dumpee who wants their ex back secretly, you don't want to be in a position where your dumper is talking to you about a new dating option and maybe even inviting you to meet them. So that is the quickest way to break your heart over and over again, to be in a position where your ex-dumper genuinely believes that you are happy to be friends. So I don't suggest you accept that. It doesn't mean you have to be rude. It doesn't mean you should be angry. It just means that in your own words, you say something along the lines of, look, I just don't know if I could be friends with you after the relationship we have had. I just don't think an active platonic friendship would work for me. And that is the key there. Active platonic friendship. That is what won't work. Something which is active, something which is current, something which is you are actively texting and calling each other fairly regularly, seeing each other fairly regularly. That won't work. Now, it doesn't mean that if you happen to bump into your ex, but you shouldn't smile and say hi, that is being reasonable. That still shows that there are no negative feelings between you, but it doesn't mean you are actually having an active platonic friendship, and that is what you should avoid. And as I said a few moments ago. Sorry for digressing, but it is an important part of the subject. So, as we were saying, after 3 months, your ex-dumper's memories are still strong, and the likelihood is they are not positive, because most dumpers are going to have lost that attraction, but they won't actually have held a level of feeling where they still want to be friends. Sometimes it might happen, as we've already just said, but often it doesn't. And therefore your ex-dumper will be remembering why they ended the relationship and not want anything to do with you at this time. Now, as a dumpy, that might sound scary, but we have to remember that feelings are in the moment. Feelings can change. I'm not trying to give you false hope, but it is certainly possible. But after 3 months, the likelihood is the reason that they dumped you is still shining bright in their mind, and they will be remembering that. Not only is that thought process going through their mind, but there is probably a desire to not actively and actually think of you. So your dumper would be living their own life, doing their own thing, likely keeping busy, maybe, unfortunately, going on other dates. Not necessarily, but possibly. So how we can summarize your ex's memories after 3 months is that the memories are clear, they are strong, they are not often positive. Occasionally they might be. They might view you in that positive light, but if they are, it is going to probably be from a platonic sense, which is of course not what you are looking for right now. And on top of this, there is a desire to try and not think about you by keeping themselves busy, trying new things, living their life in a different kind of way. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like and hype this video. If you like my content, subscribe to the channel to keep updated. And point number 2 is 6 months. So today we're speaking about likely dumper memories so long after no contact. And point number 2 is 6 months after no contact began. 6 months might seem an incredible length of time for some of you listening, or perhaps for others, you are actually within that zone now, or maybe even you're kind of looking at that in your rearview mirror. So after 6 months, your ex-dumper's memories are starting to become less avoidable. What that means is, although they were trying earlier on to avoid thinking of you, they can't really do that for much longer. Sometimes a dumper would have already got to those crossroads where they have to look into that mirror, metaphorically, physically, and see and feel what they are going through. What this means is dealing with the situation, considering the breakup, understanding where they are right now in their life, and deciding whether or not this is the right path, or whether at the crossroads instead they should be deciding to reach out to you and perhaps seeing if reconnection is possible. The memories of you are still pretty strong. Yes, half a year has passed, but they can still somewhat remember very minor details of everything which has played out from your relationship right until the breakup. Now, although this of course means that they will remember why they decided to end the relationship, something interesting is starting to take place. Your ex-dumper is now starting to view those memories in a more favourable light. Now, it doesn't mean they forget everything which has happened. It doesn't mean that they view incredibly bad things as really great things now. But what it does mean is that the bad things that they remember don't quite hold as much weight as they used to. Whereas the great, exciting and wonderful things that you shared, those memories still are loud and proud in their mind. So this is why we say that your ex is viewing the past in a more favourable light. The memories are really helping you at this stage. So if you are wanting to get your ex back, if and when you get to that 6 month mark of no contact, you can rest assured that the memories are starting to work in your favour now. Now, it isn't something you can set your watch to. It isn't something which is bang on 6 months. It could be a bit before. It could be beyond. It could be many months beyond. But what we see is 6 months is almost a marker of where the average amount of time that seems to take place where a dumper moves into this phase. So it can almost be somewhat exciting for a dumpee as they maybe get to say the 4-month mark. They've gone through the grind, it's really, really hard. You now know you're approaching a period of time where things are hopefully going to be going more in your favour. Now, as we have said throughout today's podcast, it doesn't mean definitively that your ex will come back. Sadly, there are no guarantees. There is no 100% way to get an ex back. But statistically, from my own research, once we get to around that 6-month mark, this is where your odds of success start to increase. And hence, this is something to be excited about. If you've gone through a horrible grind all of the months prior, you get to around 6 months, and this is when you know things are likely working in your favour. And even if you don't get your ex back, you at least know from this point on, hopefully, most of the time, they will be viewing you in a better light. And even if reconnection doesn't take place, it can sometimes be comforting to know that they hopefully will be viewing things a bit more positively than at the time of a breakup, where maybe you saw your ex in a way that you couldn't quite believe. Maybe they looked at you in a sense where they're looking straight through you. Maybe you see them and think you look like the Ice King or the Ice Queen. You don't seem to have the soul of a person that I was in love with. What has happened to that person? Well, once we get to 6 months, that person that you remembered is likely now back inside their mindset. It doesn't mean you'll get your ex back, but it does mean that hopefully things are going to be moving in your favour and increasing your chance of success. Now, if you would like advice and support about how to try and increase the chance of one day getting your ex back, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. This is the best and diamond level of support that I can provide. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I can become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. Talking about your feelings can also improve your mental health. It helps prevent the buildup of negative emotions, which can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. Speak your heart to free your mind. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast. If you feel that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description. And point number 3 is 1 year. Now, if you feel that this podcast could help others, please share it in breakup communities, groups, and servers. Let's help as many people as possible. And point number 3 is a year of no contact. Now, maybe you have got to this point, or perhaps it feels a long way away. Whatever your situation, it can be helpful to know the likely memories that your ex-dumper has when we get to a year or so post-breakup, post-no contact. So let's consider what your dumper is likely remembering and thinking of at this time. Now, the memories are still there, okay? Your ex-dumper is never going to forget you. Even if you don't speak again and they get to 100 years old, they will still remember you. So don't ever be scared that your ex will forget you, because they won't. However, we have to be honest, we have to be genuine. And when we get to a year of no contact, the memories can sometimes feel a bit hazy, almost as if they are thinking of a movie that they once watched. They're thinking back, they remember what happened, but sometimes they can't quite place every specific unique detail. And sometimes it almost feels, as I've described, that they are remembering somebody else's life in a sense, an old movie that they are reflecting on. So the memories aren't as strong and powerful as they have been previously, but that doesn't necessarily work against you, because everything that was helping you from around 6 months, well, it's still helping you as we move on, because these memories, as hazy as they might be right now, are generally viewed with a positive glow. So even if they haven't decided that reaching out to you is a good idea, and maybe unfortunately they never will, there is generally a positive glow around the thoughts of your relationship. Now, of course, depending on what actually happened, we can't say specifically. If you did something absolutely horrendous, we can't say that even after a year that your ex will view that in a good light. But most people who didn't do something off the scale terrible, well, your situation with your ex-pedumper is probably now viewed a little better than it was at the time, and that can help. Even though it is unfortunately true that I see reconnections slow down, so to speak, the chances of reconnecting as I see it reduce after a year, what we also have to acknowledge is that reconnections still take place. So even though your odds of success do reduce beyond a year, it still happens. I have interviews on my channel where people have reconnected beyond a year. Okay, so it is there for you to listen to. It's there for you to understand is possible, but we don't want to be focusing purely on our ex, because there are no guarantees whether you were dumped a month ago or 2 years ago. There is always a chance of getting your ex back. There is always a chance it sadly won't happen. But when we go beyond a year, we have to really understand that the chances are now reducing. And it's even more important to focus on you and your life. But that should be something that you do at whatever stage you're in. Because whether you get your ex back or not, you shouldn't just be sitting at home during the no contact period. Instead, you should be living your life to the full, becoming a version 2.0 of yourself and becoming a more attractive option, whether this is for your ex or someone else.